So here we are. I'm finally in a place where I'm aware of my sense of being and my awareness of being. When we are born, we come as pure consciousness. We have no clue of who we are. And whatever narrative we find in the collective, the beings having the human experience, gives us an identity, which I took you through, that takes you into the comfort zone. We call them pillars, they're more of shackles. Now, that identity, when it's given to you, it comes with fear. Fear of giving yourself permission to do what you've always known you desire to do. Fear of becoming the being experience here for what your true self desires to do. And worse still, after that, we don't know why we're here. Because the why was given is make a living. And when you're done, someone will pick you up and give you more life to live more. When you decide to give yourself permission to unfold everything that has given you a limit, I call them limitations, has given you an identity, lowered your power and presence of being, removing one shackle after the other, all that will be left there is you. The question is, who is you? Because the you you've been showing up as was given a group identity, a group understanding of sense of being. We are all together in the same thing. Nana, you are unique. You are a unique being that has its own talents and abilities that you are supposed to magically unfold yourself if you know who you are. So we're at that point where you have to know the presence, not identity, the presence of the being that is having the human experience. I discarded my identity. As I speak now, I told you I don't have employment, but I am deployed in the service of the universe. As I speak now, I do not subscribe to a religion, but I am aware of the spirit being that was seeking its presence and idea of being from a religion. The question is, how do we all arrive to this presence of being, which actually answers the question, who am I? So if you've been following my story, you had a born identity, but you had an original essence of being. It's called presence. Presence doesn't have an identity. It's not a tribe, it's not a color, it's not an age, it's not a body, it's not a gender. It's just the limitless, formless, infinite, intelligent power. Our God is the life-giving force, which we have called God, that animates this suit that gets an identity. Because even after you die, I'm going to say that, you're still there. You never cease. You're the energy that gives life to that so-called making a life experience that you've had that has come with hassle. So when you finally arrive to the who am I and discover that you are a powerful presence, you then need to learn how to master flowing from that consciousness of self, that I am this limitless, individualized being, and so are all the others running around with their unique gifts that they're supposed to unfold as service, not employment. You are to deploy your abilities because there are people waiting for it. But how do I master this presence? And that's where I am currently, learning to hold the presence that I am the governing creative force that creates my reality. Wake up in the morning with no identity, but instead I bring my presence to occupy the roles, the titles, the activities. So if you find me right now and ask me, what do you do for a living? I'll tell you, I'm living life. And while I live it, I love to speak. I love to broadcast. I love to write. I love to travel. I love to be a parent. And I love to be a spouse. They don't decide my identity. I'm the one that gives those identity life. And when you flow from living life, you stop keeping up appearances. You stop fearing to create something that you know you came to create as an experience, not only for you, but for others. I will give you an example right now. Had I continued the path of making a living and continued to launch that radio for Kampala, I would not open up the minds of people to know that they are the infinite being in the body having the experience, because the narrative of that radio is still towing the line of making a living. So I was going to be told to change mindset. A mindset is simply changing your consciousness, the powerful being that you are, and still putting it into a mold to behave. You are not your character, neither are you your personality. Your personality and your character are the avatar through which the pure life force that you are is supposed to animate and have an experience and not make a living. So that's the reason why I pulled that, because I now know where I'm supposed to give my service, not employment. Give my service so that a generation wakes up to the consciousness of their God presence and make the unconscious state of the human being become the servant. So do you stop being a wife? No. Do you stop being a husband? No. But husband, wife, title, job does not define how you experience life. You are a creator. You can create anything. You're to create an experience. Even service, which you have called employment, is an experience. So you wake up in the morning and say, boy, are there so many people who need to wake up. There is my service waiting for me. Rather than, oh, I need a salary, so let me just tone down my presence and fit in with the conformity. For those of you who have read the Bible, it says, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. That is the real rebirth. The born again called it salvation, ulokoka. Until you're born again in your consciousness, which is artificial, so that your brain can rewire that you're not just a human being, you're not yet salvaged. And you're salvaged from what? Of failing to show up as the divine with your unique gifts and experience life from peace, flow, and abundance and less resistance. So we're going to go on to the journey of unfolding you to know, who am I? I want you to experience the presence of who you are. When you experience who you are, then you will know the powerful being that you are. You're not an officer, you're not a politician, you're not a leader. You're a powerful creator that creates experiences through being a leader, being a doctor, being a teacher. And when you give people the experience through that role of the human experience, you don't earn a salary. You generate revenue, incoming energy that comes back to you as cash, but that was you sharing your experience to someone else and making their quality of living this life experience better. Because the narrative we have told, not only us, even previous civilizations, are there people who are walking in this process that I am in? Yes, they are. That's why I'm bringing my light out so that we don't go back to sleep. When you create the experience as your title, whatever, you don't make a living. You service and you service back. Money is not made. It is exchanged for value. So had I stated at my previous service, I was exchanging the value of my energy to a salary instead of opening it up to other people who receive this message and unfold themselves. You can't help but give back money. That's how you do trade and economy. And I talked about it as one of the pillars that shackle the human experience. I did open it up now because we will talk about money when I talk about the pillar of trade and commerce. So when you know the who you are and what you are capable of being, a creator force, when you meet me now in the morning and you ask me, how are you doing? I said, I am creating. I don't say I'm working. I'm creating. And what are you creating? An experience that will ease that problem for so and so. There's a difference. And when you start touching fellow superior beings in their human suits and giving them a service or a product that lets the quality of living life get better, they cannot fail to give you back what we owe money. And that's how we're supposed to be trading, commerce and exchange. If it's a bit too high for you, well, you get there eventually. So when you know the who of you, you go to the what of you, the why. The why is what gets us caught in this narrative of you're only human. I don't know about you, but they told me the only reason I was here is to make a living. And then when I die, I will go to heaven. That's the why I was sold. You know why you're here? You signed up for this. You're here as the limitless, formless, infinite power to experience what limitation is like, so that you can once again remind yourself that you are limitless. How else will you know they are limitless if you don't go into a limited situation, which is this avatar, the body, and have that experience? So the who of you will set the what of you, where you operate from your power, not making a living, but living life, and the why. The why is to experience life as the limitless in limitation, to unlimit itself. That's the salvage. That is salvation. That's the rebirth. That's the waking up. Because the only purpose of any person having this experience is to know that they're limitless by being limited first. And if not, the narrative itself that is limiting you. And if you never wake up and never ask yourself all through life's experiences, who am I? What am I? And where and why? Because we're told why is going to give again. Then you continue to live from that, making a living, disgruntled, hurt, hustling, fighting. But I've since realized, for you to know the real you alone have the keys to unlock yourself. And that's why I have come to share my experience to this point, so that you know that it can be done. Everything else where you were born into this realm and you became unconscious has given you a limited identification, has taken away the power of your presence to be the creating, governing presence, has defined how you should experience life, because you're here to experience, not make a living. And experiencing it from a limited point, from a hassling, painful, struggling, confusing, almost giving up space. Yet you came to prove that you do not give up. So with this podcast, unfold yourself. Believing? No. I know there are people ready to come and share their story. And while you share your story, I'll show you exactly in each point of your life where your higher self, your good self, your unlimited self was waking you up to become conscious and consciously create and co-create with others a life experience from abundance, ease, flow, and unity. Unfold Yourself is a podcast here to help a generation unfold their true sense of being and awareness of being. When you know the true self, who you are, and how you operate awareness of being, you will start living life instead of making a living. You'll start enjoying every experience called life experience instead of mourning and staying in a comfort zone. And it is my honest prayer. And when I talk about prayer, it's not blah, 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 blah. It's my honest consciousness and presence that I'm holding here right now, that this space will call out to your personhood to step aside so that the presence of your being may step and take over your life's experience. I think it's Eminem who said, "May the real me please stand up." That's what the Unfold podcast is all about. May the real me stand up. There comes a time where you have to ask those questions. And I'm here to help you ask those questions so that you unfold yourself. You know the conditioning. You know the brainwashing. No one outside who has so far told you who you can and cannot be can help you except yourself. You got to finally come to that point and say enough is enough. Isn't that the real death we're supposed to experience? When you die to the ego and wake up to your God presence. Well, I'm hoping that you'll come and be part of my guests. There's so many chairs here waiting for you so that you unfold yourself and stop living from an identity, limited, cowardly, fearful being, and show up like Eminem said, the real me showing up in the presence of my true sense of being, that I'm the divine. And what I'm all about, to create, so that what comes out of it, to understand how a limitless creature can unlimitless itself and take life. So I'm looking forward to you coming to sit next to me and let me help you unfold yourself so that you stop making a living and live a life. that you stop living from a false identity and step into the fullness of your power, which is the presence
of being.